Hi, welcome to our Homestead series. We hope this will be of enjoyment and informative. We don't know everything, we don't do everything perfect, but what we do know works for us. In these economic times, people have been talking about a back to the land movement or getting back to a more simple way of life. The transformation from the comforts of city dwelling and our modern way can be a little different going back to the homestead. I won't say complicated, but there are some things some people should know. So I hope you enjoy this series. Thank you for watching.
Okay, we had chicken for supper tonight. So I picked most of the meat off the bones, and I put the bones and the leftover skin back into the crock pot, and I filled it up with water. I also poured in the drippings from the pan. I'm going to turn this on low and leave it overnight, and in the morning we'll have a really nice chicken stock, and we can just strain out the bones and make our soup or freeze the stock, whatever you want. Okay, our crock pot has been on all night with our chicken cooking. And we have a nice, rich broth here. Now I'm just going to turn this off and let it cool down a little bit, and then we can strain out the bones. Okay, our chicken is cooled down enough to handle now, so I'm going to start pulling the bones out of the crock pot. I'm going to save the meat, or put the bones into a bowl, because there will be enough meat left on the bones to pick off and add back into the soup. If you have a strainer large enough too, you could put that in the bowl or inside your pot and then just dump the whole thing through, and it should separate the meat nicely for you. I'm going to pour the stock through the strainer. That'll catch out all the little small bits. Now we have a nice, rich tasting chicken stock that you could either freeze this, you could can it, or you could make soup with it. We're having chicken and dumplings for lunch today, so I'm going to put this into the fridge to cool for an hour or two. It'll help the fat to go solid on the top, and then I can skim it off. Okay, our plans got changed up a little bit, so I let this sit in the fridge overnight to chill, and as you can see, the fat has come to the surface and hardened. So now you just take a spoon and you skim off most of the fat. You could leave it in, but then it makes your soup taste really greasy. Okay, I've skimmed most of the fat off the top of the stock now, and as you can see, the stock set into a nice jelly. That's perfect. That's what you want. That shows that a lot of the gelatin has come out of the bones of the chicken, and you're going to have a really nice, rich broth. Now, if it doesn't set like this for you, it's still okay to use, and it'll still taste just fine. Okay, now I'm just going to warm this back up, and then we can add our vegetables to the soup. Okay, I've got my vegetables and meat ready for my soup. I've got 2 medium onions, about 6 or 7 small carrots, 5 medium potatoes, and about 2 cups of chopped chicken. Now we're just going to add this into our stock, which is already heated up. Now we're just going to let that bring it to a boil, and then turn it down to a simmer until the vegetables are tender. getting ready to make the dumplings for our chicken and dumplings. I have 1.5 cups of flour in this bowl. Now I'm going to add 3 teaspoons of baking powder. I'm going to add half a teaspoon of salt. And just give that a quick little mix. Then add 1/4 cup of butter or shortening, or you can use lard as well. And you just want to use your pastry blender or 2 knives or a fork to cut that in. Now that our butter is mixed in, you're going to add about 1/2 cup of ice cold water. Just enough to make a soft biscuit type dough. You don't want to overmix it too much, because you don't want the biscuits to be tough. I'm going to add just a little bit more water. Okay, now that is looking pretty good. Now, if you want to, you can add, before I added the water, if you want to flavor your dumplings, you can add parsley or chives or shredded cheese or whatever you like. We just leave them plain, and I flavor the soup instead. You want to take about a tablespoon's worth of dough and just drop them gently into your pot. Now you want to cover your pot and let these simmer for about 15 minutes. And by that time they should be done. If you want to make sure, you can take one out and you can cut it open. If it's cooked all the way through, then you're good to go. Okay, our time's up and our dumplings are well cooked. You see how they've puffed out really nicely. Now you can leave them like this if you like, or the way that we prefer it is to break them up into smaller bite-sized pieces in here. And I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to adjust the seasonings the way that we like it in the soup. So I'm just going to get a large fork and mash these up a bit. You can see when you're breaking them open that they're cooked all the way through. Breaking these up does help to stretch it a little farther as well.